Cast your mind back to 2019. Remember all those headlines when it came out that President Trump wanted to buy Greenland? It was pretty much treated as a joke, right? The late-night hosts had an absolute field day with it. The Danish government even called the whole idea absurd. But what if I told you it was anything but a joke?
Because behind all that laughter, the question, how much? Well, that's a question American leaders have been asking very seriously for over 150 years. This was not some new, crazy idea. The truth is, the stakes have never been higher.
So, was this just a president's strange, fleeting idea? Or was it actually the latest chapter in a long-running and very serious American ambition? Well, let's get into it.
As you can see, President Trump wasn't the first to try and buy Greenland. He wasn't even the second. He was the third. This American obsession goes way, way back, all the way to just after the Civil War.
To really understand why this massive frozen island is so critical today, we have to look to the past. And this story really kicks off during an age of empire building.
So in 1867, right after the U.S. bought Alaska from Russia, Secretary of State William Seward immediately started looking into acquiring Greenland. He saw it as the absolute key to controlling the shipping lanes of the North Atlantic. Fast forward to 1946. The Cold War is just heating up, and President Truman makes a formal offer to Denmark, $100 million in solid gold. He saw the island as an essential defensive post against Soviet bombers.
Denmark turned down the money, but America didn't just pack up and go home. Not at all. They just changed their strategy. In 1951, they signed a defense agreement that gave the U.S. permanent military access, and that foothold is arguably more important today than it has ever been. And that strategic foothold gets us to the real heart of the matter, its location. In military terms, Greenland is seen as the ultimate forward base, what they call an unsinkable aircraft carrier.
This is the GIUK Gap. It's a name you might not hear every day, but it's one of the most vital naval choke points on the planet. For a Russian submarine to get out into the open Atlantic, it has to squeeze through this narrow corridor. And for NATO, this whole area is a heavily monitored kill zone. If you control Greenland, you control the western wall of that gate. Simple as that.
And this quote just perfectly sums up the thinking. An aircraft carrier can be taken out. A fleet of ships can be sunk. But an island is permanent. It gives you a fixed, stationary platform for your radar, for your aircraft, and for your missile warning systems, right on your adversary's doorstep.
And in modern warfare, it's all about how much time you have to react. Well, the distance from northern Greenland to Moscow is just a little over 2,000 miles. That drastically cuts down the warning time for an incoming missile, and that gives you an unbelievable defensive advantage.
But these days, the strategy isn't just about military positioning. Not anymore. It's about what's buried deep under all that ice. An economic prize that is just mind-bogglingly huge.
As the great ice sheet melts, geologists are confirming what people have suspected for a long time. Greenland is sitting on top of massive deposits of rare earth minerals. Some estimates put the value at around $1 trillion. Now, the name rare earths is a little misleading. They're not actually all that rare, but they are absolutely essential for pretty much all modern technology. We're talking about everything from your smartphone and your electric car to the guidance systems inside fighter jets and submarines.
And here is the really crucial point. Right now, China controls about 85% of the world's ability to process these vital minerals. So if Beijing ever decided to cut off exports, Western manufacturing and our defense industries would just grind to a halt. Greenland is one of the only places on Earth that offers a realistic path for the West to break free from that dependence.
By the way, if you're finding this explainer interesting, please take a quick moment to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us keep making them, and that way you won't miss any of our future updates.
This hunt for minerals is all happening while a much larger global competition is heating up. A competition being unlocked by climate change itself, the race for the new Arctic.
For pretty much all of human history, the Arctic has been a frozen, impassable barrier. But as the ice melts, new shipping lanes are opening up. The Northern Sea Route, for instance, can cut the journey from Asia to Europe by about a quarter. That saves billions in fuel. The Arctic is literally transforming from a wall into a global superhighway.
And China has a very clear plan for this new ocean. They call it the Polar Silk Road. Their goal is to build, finance, and control the new ports, the refueling stations, and all the infrastructure along these new routes. In effect, they want to be the ones running the toll booths for the entire Arctic economy of the future.
But amidst all this big talk of geopolitics, military bases, and trillions of dollars,
There is a hugely important part of this story we cannot forget: the people who actually live there.
Greenland is home to just over 57,000 people. That's it, a tiny population living on a vast land, right at the center of this immense global power struggle.
To put that number into perspective, the entire population of Greenland could fit inside one NFL stadium. And they have a dilemma. The vast majority of Greenlanders want full independence from Denmark. The problem is, their economy is almost entirely dependent on a $600 million annual grant from Copenhagen. This has created what you might call an independence trap, which makes them vulnerable to any foreign power that's willing to come in and write that check instead.
And this vulnerability is made so much worse by deep generational trauma. In 1951, Denmark forcibly took Inuit children from their families for so-called cultural re-education experiment. Today, the country faces one of the highest suicide rates in the entire world. And as the sea ice literally melts away beneath their feet, so does a traditional way of life, symbolized by a sled dog population that's been cut by nearly half. This isn't just a piece of property. It's a society in the middle of a profound crisis.
And that brings us right up to the present day, where the rhetoric has escalated dramatically. In what was a pretty startling development, the White House recently confirmed that when it comes to securing American interests in Greenland, and I'm quoting here, utilizing the U.S. military is always an option. What was once a quiet diplomatic issue is now a very serious strategic standoff.
So the question is no longer if Greenland is going to be a major flashpoint. The question is how its future is going to be decided. Will it be through diplomacy, with big checks and economic promises, or as the ice continues to melt away, will it eventually be decided by force? The race for the Arctic is on, and the whole world is watching.